Okay, this is my cautionary tale of using Placidus house system and what can happen. So, I discovered astrology around 2 years ago during my Saturn return, and I got so into it. Like, I spent all my free time learning about astrology, and I like looked at the different house systems, and I even played around with using Vedic astrology, but I found most drawn to Placidus as it's the most common used, and it's also more like psychology about the interior environment in a person. So that was what I was drawn towards. But so I really studied that. Like I went and I studied with astrologers. I like bought so many readings and started to really analyze my life and thinking in astrological language in my head when something happens. Like, you know, probably how it is. Like, something happens and you think in your mind, okay, that's because Pluto is in the third house and blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's not for me, but for an example. And so I was really identified with my placements. And then, so like maybe 1 month ago or something, I was at my mom's house and went through her notebooks, and I found her diary from when she was pregnant with me. And so I was looking through that diary, and then she wrote a lot when like she was at nursery or like the hospital right before I was going to get born. And then I thought in my mind, like, what if I discover now that my birth time is completely different than what I thought? Because I got the birth time that I went from a birth certificate. So there was no like reason for me to question it. And then I thought that because I have Chiron in the ninth house in Virgo, so I have really noticed that belief and questioning my reality is a very like big theme for me. And then I continued reading, and then it said that my birth time was another time than it said on their birth certificates, and I got so like it was such a mind blown moment. I'm getting chills now as I talk about it. And I got like, okay, I noticed a resistance in me, like not wanting to be wrong, because my mom was also in the room with me when I discovered this, and I was talking to my boyfriend on the phone and talked with him like on speaker. And my mom is very religious and does not approve of astrology and stuff. And so I was a bit also like self-conscious around that like if the astrology system that I use is not my dog came up here. Okay, so if the astrology system that I'm using is not correct, then what does that mean? Is astrology not like truthful? Like is there no, yeah, so I just really like had this moment of whoa, because I spent so much time studying this specific natal chart. So then I looked up my new chart, and it was 4 or 5 if I count Black Moon Lilith, but it was 5 different personal planets that shifted to a different house. And I was very surprised. And it took so long for me to really melt this, like, because I got this existential crisis, which sounds weird. It's not that dramatic, but I really found that what is true, like what is I really like just tried to be open and tried to embrace thinking something else other than Placidus. and Western astrology, and tried the different house systems and the different like Vedic or Western. And then I really found that I didn't know what to believe. So I dropped astrology for like a long time now. Like since that happened, I've been like, okay, I need to pause, I need to reflect. And it's not that, like, I do feel a resonance with the new house planets or the new house placements. And I do find that they make a lot of sense. Like to a point where I feel like, okay, this is why I had trouble understanding this or stuff like that. But I do think that I don't take it now on myself to like a full extent that I am like, okay, this is that because of this planet, because I'm not sure of which house system to follow. And I think this happened, of course, for a reason, so I'm not attached and identified with a specific house system or astrological system. But I think also that it's very important to know that with Placidus, it's so like it depends really on, like, you have to get your time right, because I went by my birth certificate. Like that was what the hospital put down. But then in my mom's diary, she put down the time that she saw, like the clock in her room when she gave birth, and it differed with half an hour. So have that in mind when you're watching your own birth certificate, because it's not 100%. It can differ. And I'm like, this is what we have to go on. That's like, we have to go by the birth certificate if we don't have the luxury of a mom that wrote down her time. Like that sounds very, like, I don't think a lot of moms even think about that or like have that in their consciousness. So I'm very lucky, but like I want to give this forward to people so you don't get too identified with it. And I think maybe also from this, I'm having this like seesaw moment where I go by like from Placidus to whole sign. And I also know that some people use Placidus for like more the internal and whole signs for the external. But yeah, I don't know, it still feels like I can't choose one. So I'm a bit lost still, but I wanted to put this video out there because it's worth to bear in mind with your own chart, and maybe have like take Placidus with a grain of salt. Yeah, I'm still very much like, I have a love for Placidus. So I'm yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything certain, but I think, and I'm also a bit grateful for the detachment to astrology, because I think also I've noticed in myself that I chose whichever placement was more favorable for me. And I think a lot of people do that when like they watch the both or the different systems. Like, okay, this resonates more, but maybe some things don't resonate because they're not in your conscious awareness. So it's a bit tricky. It's very tricky. But yeah, so this is my cautionary tale. Be aware when using astrology. And if you want to be completely certain, I would say whole signs is way safer to go with. But yeah, okay. Thank you for watching.